Good morning. Welcome to my studio in Carmel. I hope you're having a great day and will have a great day. I will be reading chapter 12 and chapter 13 from the teachings of Yama. If you like it, please click that like button and subscribe. I have many different things in my content. So, without further ado, the pathless path, remembering what is already there. Why does no one want the no path? I asked. And please tell me what that path is, or I guess you might say is not. Few are interested in the pathless path because their minds are their masters. The mind finds nothing interesting in it, nothing to overcome, nothing to acquire, nothing to flee from. It is a boring story for the mind. It makes no sense, for because no time is involved, no steps to be walked. And time is nothing but the mind. See that group of men over there about ready to cross the river? Yes. How many are there? There are 10 men, I answered. Watch. The 10 men waded through the high waters in a single line, worry playing upon their faces at the possibility of being swept away. However, they persevered, and soon they stood dripping wet on the other side. They huddled in a group. Are we all there? Are we all here? One of them asked. He began counting heads, pointing to all the heads he saw. Oh no, one of us is missing. Someone else frantically began to count heads. Sure enough, one of us is missing. All of them desperately counted each other. Where is the missing one? They all shouted as they ran and stumbled along the riverbank searching for the one being swept down the river. Then a man with a serene face came out of the forest in response to their cries. Fellows, why are you shouting? Why all this frantic actions and worried looks? The stranger inquired. Why? One of us is lost, no doubt swept away down the river. One is lost, eh? How many of you set out crossing the river? 10? And how many did you count who had made it over? We all counted 9. The man raised his eyebrows and counted aloud very deliberately, and he counted 10 heads. No one is missing. You are whole. Can it be true? They asked incredulously. Do count again, lest you counted wrongly. And so once more the man counted aloud and deliberately. 10. How wonderful! Thank you! You have saved us! You have made us whole! They all bowed to the stranger's feet. The man laughed. I have done nothing. None of you counted yourself. I have only pointed out what was already there. No one was lost. Nor was there ever anyone missing. Is that it? I asked Yama, after we watched the man shaking his head in disbelief. Leave the 10 men as they jumped up and down, embracing one another, and disappeared into the forest. I'm not sure of the lesson, besides the fact that not everyone is dished out with the same amount of wits. Silently, Yama walked down a path that turned into a road through a noisy, bustling marketplace. I knew by now that his silence meant that he would be showing me the answer to my question. We entered a shop full of glittering jewelry. A man sat behind a table. Goldsmith, Yama said to the man, take this gold and fashion a wonderful ring out of it. Yama handed him a large golden nugget, and immediately the goldsmith went to work, melting, pounding, shaping, polishing. After a while he held up a magnificent ring. Yama showed it to me. Do you remember the gold nugget? Certainly. Has it changed? Of course, I said. It began as a clump of gold, and by his skill the goldsmith has created a ring. True enough. Yet what about the goldness of the nugget? Has it changed? Is the gold any less by the changing of its shape, from the beginning through to the end? No, I said excitedly, beginning to get his point. It is still gold no matter what form, what shape. Yes, said Yama, that is the pathless path. It is simply remembering your essence. Remembering that which has never changed no matter what forms you have appeared to be in, or whenever action. For like the 10 travelers realizing no one was lost in the first place, that there is no one to look for and no time for which to be found. Is it that simple? Then why all the scriptures and religions and practices? Yama gently tapped a finger on his chest. Because it is so simple. The answer lies ever shining right here, waiting right in the heart. However, people believe they are their minds, and the mind loves stories and schemes and strategies. And since most are dictated by their minds, it is not easy to always remember your essence when you walk amongst the busy-minded crowd. That is why it is important for being in holy company to sit in the silence of truth with those who remember and who can remind you by counting your head. Chapter 13. What is real? The beginning of the dream, changing scenery. With his words seeping into my heart like rain being sucked into the dry earth, we silently walked through the marketplace. Contemplating his words, I closed my eyes a moment, and when I opened them, we stood by a pool where a waterfall gently fell. I shook my head in amazement how quickly scenes would change traveling with Yama. Yama, you who are leading me back to my origin, I said, finding myself a moss-covered boulder to sit upon. This is a dream, yes? Yes. When I wake up, will that also be a dream? Is one more real than the other? Is any of it real at all? My mind cannot fathom these questions and is confused, yet strangely I feel calm with an inner certainty. How many scriptures and philosophies have tried to adequately answer your questions? Let me now try. Neither your waking nor your dreaming are real, although while your consciousness is dwelling in either state, you will believe that state to be real and that the other is not. Yet even as both are equally unreal, they are both real as well. And they are neither unreal nor real. Excuse me, I said, my face twisting once again with paradoxes. Your statements cancel one another. Thus, you have said nothing. True, I have said nothing to answer your questions beyond a doubt, because really your questions cannot be answered beyond a doubt. The problem is that you believe you are the questioner and that there is an answer. Question and answer, subject and object, the dreamer and the dream. Is the world real or not? Is God and the world one? All these questions cannot be answered satisfactorily. That is, going beyond the shadows of doubt to rest in the still place of knowing, because they originate in the world of duality. The answer is only found in the silence of knowing, which is beyond the duality of words. For when you go into the silence, there is no more questioner. There never was, nor will there ever be. There is only certainty of being. Remember, it is the mind's activity to question and to figure out things, and no activity can lead to the truth. I put my hands on my head, trying to stop it from spinning away. Yama laughed. Let me tell you a story. A long time ago, before time began and space was created, Brahman fell asleep and dreamt he did not know himself. A question arose, who am I? And from that question, time arose to allow time for the answer to be found, and space arose to offer an arena in which to seek the answer. An unlimited expression of forms were created by the mind of Brahman in an attempt to discover his own vastness. And for countless ages Brahman watched within himself the answers to this question. And being that Brahman is unlimited in his vastness, and that the universe was created in order for the answer to be explored, the question forever goes on and on and on. I nodded in understanding. The problem is, Yama continued, is that Brahman, who is the eternally awakened one, the omniscient one, could never fall asleep, nor could he ever not know. I groaned as once again the paradoxes sped around the track of my mind. With my mind threatening to shatter, I simply shut down, and for a long while I sat in silence. I came out of the silence feeling refreshed and said, I realize the mind cannot figure out the answer, yet how does one stay in the awareness of knowing? As soon as I asked the question, an old hermit of a man came up to me and shook his staff. If you want the answer, you must leave the city and all its lures, its desires. You will only find it here in the wilderness. Then off he went, disappearing into the woods. Just as I was ready to make comments to Yama about the old man, a man in a business suit approached. Ignore the old man, said the businessman. The city is not the problem. And off he went as well, yet going in the opposite direction, following the road. Yama looked at me and asked which one of the two did I think spoke correctly. I would imagine the hermit, I replied. Why do you say so? Is it that he looks the part of a holy man? Be aware of appearances. A deadly coral snake resembles the benign milk snake. You mean to tell me that the businessman was the holy man? But the hermit has given up all the world to find God. Yama shook his head. He reached down and grabbed a shovel that he had just manifested, and began digging where his shadow lay. I watched perplexed as the hole grew. Sweat poured down Yama's brow. What are you doing, may I ask? Without stopping his digging, he replied, I am burying my shadow naturally. That's ridiculous. No one can bury their shadow. Yama threw down the shovel and stood wiping the sweat. Exactly. Renouncing the world, family, work, riches, etc., and going off into the wilderness to become holy is no different than trying to bury your shadow. You take your mind wherever you may go. That holy-looking hermit had mind filled with thoughts of the upturned breast of a young maiden bathing down the river he had just passed, while the businessman silently blessed everyone he saw by saying, You are that. Do you mean, dear teacher, that going out into the wilds away from distractions of the city is not beneficial for one's growth? Certainly not, Yama replied. I highly recommend going out in nature alone for a day or for longer periods. I find people's minds tend to quiet down after 3 days. It is like a fast from city life. However, the growth that you speak of really has nothing to do with becoming aware of who you are, the one who is unchanging beyond growth. And that the great inquiry can be done anywhere and at all times. What do you mean by inquiry? I asked. That is what the sage sitting in the hall teaches. It is the inquiry that leads all beyond my grasp. Thank you for listening, and have a blessed day. Om Shanti.